Howdy and welcome back. This is Beefalo Bart, your old fart. Alright, um, pick up where we left off in the first video, which is actually compiling right now. What we did in the last video, just a quick recap, is we created a player base, a green player and a red player, with the associated meshes and materials to go along with. Cool, awesome, wonderful, lovely. All right, and as we can see, there are guns. We have 3 guns already set up in this. And if you didn't watch the last video, I suggest you go back and watch it first, because I discussed that you're going to need to get this project pack. And looking at it, if you look down in, it's called Weapon Tutorial. It's a relatively large zip file. It is 844 megabytes. You'll download that, you'll extract it, and then you'll double click on Weapon Tutorial, and that'll get you going into everything you need to get started with. Follow along with the first video and go ahead and create your characters the way that I have here, your file structure the way I've got it here, and it will be ready to rock and roll. And from this point forward, we are no longer going to be using the third-person character at all. For now, we're going to stick with third-person game mode and other things, but for the blueprint for our character, we're actually going to be using and making all our changes in player base, but we don't have to do any editing whatsoever in green and red, other than changing the skeletal mesh. So, what do we want to get accomplished in this video? Well, the last part of the last video, we went to the skeleton, since we're using the same skeleton from the regular UE4 mannequin. We added in the socket called main_hand so that we can actually hold a weapon. We somewhat got it positioned, and we got it to where it looks halfway decent in character's hands. And we can cycle through different animations so we can see what it looks like. Cool, huh? Alright, so what we want to do, I guess, is go ahead and add the weapon to our hand. We're not going to cover shooting the gun just yet. In fact, before we actually put a gun in our hand, we need to understand that there are some things that we have to look at. In the animations, as you see, we have all these different animations now. And currently we're using the third-person animation blueprint. Double click on that and we can look inside here. We've got auto run. We got all this. This is a normal, default, unarmed person walking around. So we want to keep this. We don't want to mess with this animation whatsoever. We don't want to screw with that animation blueprint whatsoever. What we do want to accomplish is we want to be able to know that we have a weapon and we need to change the animation. So to get set up for that, a couple things we're going to do. I believe in this video, I'm just winging it in each video right now, just so we can get everything set up to where it's going to be a smooth transition. I want to take each of these 3 guns and I want to create them as a pickup. Now, it's not as difficult as it seems. Let's start with the MP5, since it's my current favorite. We do have the skeletal mesh, and we have a static mesh. And we're actually going to use the static mesh. And what we're going to do is we're going to come over here, and we're going to click on the MP5 folder. We're going to right click, we're going to make a new folder, and we're going to call this Blueprints. And we're going to go into that folder. We're going to make a new blueprint. And we're going to create MP5 underscore pickup. And if you're an idiot like me and you constantly are doing this, we need to make a blueprint, not a folder, you idiot. So, yeah, anyway, we're going to make a blueprint class. And no, I'm not going to edit that out. And it's going to be an actor. And again, we're going to call it, anybody want to guess? MP5 underscore pickup. Now we have the correct one. So what we need to do is go into it. Over here on the top left, we need to add a component, and we want to add a static mesh. Static mesh. And we're going to call this weapon. Now, while we have that selected, we can come over here, click on static mesh, and we want to find the MP5. There, we have an MP5 static mesh. Next thing I want to do is I want to rotate it, because if we're going to pick it up, we're going to pick it up off the ground. And I'm going to turn my snapping back on. And click back on the weapon again. So with the snapping on, it's easier to go ahead and see that you're at precisely 90. I mean, you could just go over here to the rotation and click in, type it in manually, but we're going to go ahead and do it this way. Now, what I find out is, if you look down here, it's going to be a little bit low, and it's going to be inside the ground. So I'm going to drag it up and one bump. Sometimes it wants to work, sometimes it doesn't. That's too much. So I'm going to turn off snapping, and I'm going to bring it back down. To make it easy, I'm just going to click over here, and I'm just going to say 5. Do that at 0. So that should have it right at the ground or close to the ground. We can make adjustments to it later on. But while we have this weapon selected, we need to go ahead and click on Add Component and type in box. So we need a box collision. Now, I don't want to leave it huge like that, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to scale it down to be just a little bit thicker than the actual gun itself. We'll make it just a little bit wider. So what I want to do now is just kind of drag it over just a little bit to kind of center it up over the gun. And we'll look at the width. We'll change that a little bit as we need to. It doesn't have to be precise. You want it to be a little bit bigger than normal anyway. So as you walk over it, you're going to be able to pick it up. So with that being done, we can go ahead and hit compile and save. Now we can actually take a look at it. We're going to go ahead and left click. We're going to drag it into our scene and drop it. Looks like it's still a little bit high, so we can go in here and play. And it's a little bit small too. So let's actually scale it up just a hair. Go back in here into the weapon pickup, or the MP5 pickup. Click on the weapon, and we got our scale here. Let's look at the viewport one more time. And we're going to go 1.25 on each axis. And then we're going to save that. We'll take a look at it again in the game. Not bad. But I will go ahead and upsize it to 1.5. So we'll click on weapon, and we'll do 1.5. There we go. And save. Now that we have this, we can see that it is off of the ground a little bit, but that's fine. It makes it a little bit easier to notice. And you see there is no collision on it whatsoever. You don't really need a collision because you're going to be walking over it to pick it up anyway. So we're not going to worry about adding collision to it. There are ways of adding collisions to the static meshes that don't have them as a normal collision, but we're not going to worry about it. So now we got our pickup. Now we can do the same thing with the other two guns if you like, and that'll go ahead and give us our pickup system. And I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing for the Glock 17. I'm going to come in, I'm going to make a blueprints folder. Go inside of it, right click, blueprint class, actor, G17 pickup, go into it, add component, static mesh. It's not necessary to rename this, but I like doing it anyway. We'll find the G17 static mesh, rotate it 90 degrees, and we'll set the Z value to 5. We're going to add a component. We need a box collision. Go ahead and resize that. I said it does not have to be precise. In fact, you want it to be a little bit larger anyway. I'll shrink it down a little bit this way. And that's pretty much good enough. So we'll compile and save. And we'll just go ahead and chuck that on the ground. And let's take a look at it. A little small. We're going to do the same thing. We'll go back in, click on weapon. We're going to click on the scale 1.5, tab 1.5, tab 1.5, done. And then we'll just click save on that, and we'll go back and look at it. Good. All right. See how easy that is to make these pickups so far. And we'll finish off. We'll go ahead and make the AKM. Same process. Blueprints. Go into it. We want a blueprint actor AKM underscore pickup. Go into it. Add component. Static mesh. Add component. Box collision. Click on the weapon, find the static mesh, rotate it 90 degrees, and since we've had to rescale the other ones, let's go ahead and do 1.5 on that as well. We'll go ahead and rescale our collision box. There's a lot of repetitive stuff in doing a lot of these things, but there are going to be some steps that I'll show you that'll actually make things a little bit easier along the way. Alright, good enough. Compile, save, and we'll chuck that on the ground as well. We forgot to change the height to 5. 3 would probably be a better number, but we're going to put it as 5. And now we have pickup item for the Glock 17, the MP5, and for the AKM. Lovely. Alright, so that is your basics for your creating a weapons pickup using a static mesh, a blueprint, and a box collision. That's going to get them on the ground and able to be picked up. Now, what I'll do is I'm going to pause the video here, and if you want to, you can pause, rewind, go back, and get caught up to this point. And what I'll do is I will proceed on to actually making it to where when you walk over the item, it will actually remove it from the ground. That'll be the next step in creating this. So let's go ahead and pause your video and get caught up to here, and we'll resume here in just a second. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back into our MP5 blueprints. I'm going to go to the MP5 pickup and open that up. Now you've got a series of things here. Let's go ahead and just get rid of them. Left click, drag and highlight all of them, hit delete key, compile, save, gone, get out of my life, you're gone. Now, left click on weapon, you can right click, add event, and what we're going to want is the overlap event. And yes, there was one sitting there, but we're going to do it a little bit different anyway. So as you look down, there's a bunch of different options on here, and if you don't see the one you're looking for, then it's not a big deal. So I'm going to right click, actor, begin. So we want event actor begin overlap. Okay. Now from here we want to cast to, not the third person character. What are we going to do? What are we casting to? We can cast to player base, player underscore base. Straighten your lines out. Connect your object to other actor as player base. We're wanting to essentially make it to where when the player overlaps it. Now, one of the things we need to look at is, while we've got that open, go into our character blueprint and go into player base. We need to go ahead and create a variable. You're going to always have a buttload of variables. We're going to click on the variable button. We're going to call this MP5 picked up. And we're just going to hold on to that value for just a minute. Go ahead, compile, save. Now we want to, as player base, set MP5 picked up. So we want to tell our player character that you just picked it up. And for now, what we're going to do is we're going to put in a different node. We're going to drag off of this, and this is for giggles. We're just going to do this in. Something you should get in the habit of is print text. It is 100% not necessary. But if you're experimenting with something and you make a mistake, you can put these in different locations and you can see different aspects of things that are going on. And yes, I'll go back and click it. Give me a second. For those of you who caught what I haven't done yet. So in the print text, I'm going to highlight where it says hello, and I'm going to say MP5 was picked up. Lovely. And I'm going to go ahead and click that, because whenever we walk over it, we want the player to know, or player base to know, that we now have picked up an MP5. So let's go ahead and test this. Compile, save, and then play. And we want to walk over AK, it does nothing. Walk over the Glock, it does nothing. Walk over the MP5, and it says on the upper left-hand corner of your screen, MP5 was picked up. Lovely. We know that it recognizes it. So we're going to come back into our blueprints folder, MP5 pickup, and we're going to leave this text in there for now, but we're going to stretch this over a little bit to get it out of the way. Keep it straight. Now we're going to left click from here. We're going to come out and we're going to say destroy actor. What this is going to do is it's going to make the gun disappear from the ground. Compile, save, and we'll go in here and test it out. So as soon as I walk over the MP5, boom, it is gone. We picked up the MP5. It is no longer in the map. And that's what we wanted to do. We wanted to make it to where it vanishes. So quickly, what I want to go ahead and do, and then we'll wrap up this video for what we got. And we're going to go ahead and do the same thing for the Glock 17 and the AKM. We'll go to the blueprints. We might as well go back to our player character, our player base. And I didn't change anything in you. Why are you different? Anyway, so we're going to come back into our player base. We need to go ahead and add in 2 more variables. G17 picked up, and enter. We want to leave these as booleans. And AKM picked up. Now there's another thing that I'm going to want to do. You see this turn, left click on it, come over here to category, click on my character. Same thing for your base, look up rate, come over to your category, my character. Now we can close this and it hides those. And what we want to do now is go to our MP5 picked up. We're going to left click here to highlight where it says default, and we're going to call this weapons. Now we've just created a new variable index, and we can click on Glock 17, drop down arrow, go to weapons. And what this is going to do is it's going to keep them compact and hidden. So if you don't want to see anything related to weapons, you can close it. If you want to see what's involved in my character, good to go. If you want to have your hunger, thirst, health, blah, 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 you can make different categories for each of your things here, and it helps to keep everything neat and organized. We're going to hit compile and save, close our player back, and now we can go back into our guns, Glock 17 blueprints, and we're going to do the same thing. We're going to come in here, we're going to delete everything that we have here, even though what we want is here. Get in the habit of right click, actor begin overlap. We want to cast to player base. We want to drag other actor to our object wildcard, so it only is affecting the person that's walking over it. And since we're in the Glock 17, we want to set G17 picked up to true, connect that to there, and then we want to, just for the giggles, we'll actually do the destroy actor and go ahead and put our text in just for the heck of it. We'll change this later on to something a little bit nicer. You start typing in text and then select print text. Glock 17 was picked up. Lovely. Compile, save, and then we'll close that down, go over here, go to our blueprints, AKM, delete that stuff. Actor begin overlap. Cast to player underscore base. Yes, I could have copied and pasted everything in, but get in the habit of doing things over and over and over and over again. Yes, I know you're done compiling. We need to set AKM picked up to true. Lovely. We need to destroy actor. And we need to print text. We don't need to, but we're gonna anyway. AKM was picked up. Alright, we'll compile, save. Sorry if I'm moving too quickly, but I don't want to bore you guys to death. These videos are getting to be 30 minutes each. And let's go ahead and play. Walk over the AK. AKM was picked up. It disappeared. MP5 and Glock 17. They all vanished and went away. And we know that our player base knows that we have picked up the Glocks, the guns, the weapons. We have them. We're good to go. Alright. So we'll leave it short on this video, and we'll pick up in the next video. We'll actually start getting it to where we're getting closer to having it attached to us. and then we can bind them to different keys and storage locations, and we'll get into it one step at a time so that you don't get overwhelmed. And if you have any questions, please leave them in the comments, and any suggestions, go ahead and leave them in the comments, and definitely get with me in Discord, and we'll talk about it and help walk you through any problems you may have. All right, thank you for watching, and we'll see you soon.